The hatch is located on the upper half of the disk, with just the bottom portion of the door wrapping around the center lip of the disk. The interior of the disk is divided into 3 levels. The lower level is where the 3 gravity amplifiers and amplifier guides are located. The gravity amplifiers of the disk can be focused independently and they are pulsed. Well, describe the time Lazar had been inside the flying saucer for work, for the propulsion systems for element 115 for 2.5 hours, and when he came out, hardly any time had elapsed. And so Lazar had concluded the saucer was time shifted.
Well, that's weird. I hadn't heard that time. I hadn't heard that story in years. I've forgotten that story, but I remember it now. I remember he did say that. 2.5 hours. Wow. God, it's been a long time since I heard that story.
Is that accurate? Is that what he told you?
Yeah.
So what does that mean to you now that you're remembering that?
I don't know. I just remember that before he went in, he had to take off all his watches, rings, everything, bracelets.
The space-time distortion around the disk achieves maximum distortion and is folded up into this heart-shaped form. The disk can't be seen from any vantage point, and for all practical purposes is invisible. All you can see would be the sky surrounding it. I was never given access to the upper level of the disk, so I can't enlighten you as to what the porthole-like areas are, other than I can assure you they're not portholes. The center level of the disk also houses the control consoles and seats, both of which were too small and too low to the floor to be functional for adult human beings. The walls of the center level are divided into archways. At one point in time, when the disk was energized, one of the archways became transparent, and you could see the area outside of it as if the archway was a window. After the panel had been transparent for a while, a form of writing which was unlike any alphabetic, scientific, or mathematical symbols I have ever seen began to appear on the transparent archway, and I was never informed as to how all of this was achieved, not that any of that would have required alien technology. The reactor, explains Lazar, is located directly above the 3 gravity amplifiers on the center level and is, in fact, centered between them. The element 115 is machined into triangles and is then inserted into the reactor. This piece of element 115 is the source of the gravity A wave as well as the target, which is bombarded with protons to release the antimatter. Dr. Edward Teller was the key scientist who determined that fusion, as opposed to fission, could be used to create a nuclear bomb that would be even more destructive than the bombs dropped on Japan. Teller is known in the scientific community as the father of the hydrogen bomb. Teller's hydrogen bomb fusion process releases vastly more energy than fission and results in a much larger explosion from the identical amount of nuclear material as that within the bombs dropped on Japan. We never dropped the hydrogen bomb, and, quips Lazar, Dr. Teller's been in a bad mood ever since.
Is there any other nuclear reaction besides fission and fusion that you know of?
No.
Is there anything such?
Look, please, you try to explore the things about which I only will have to tell you it is not interesting, it's a waste of time.
Plutonium or
Look, it is, in my opinion, not interesting. I don't intend to answer it. If you ask me that question on camera, I will shut up. I will sit silent. You're not going to get an answer out of me on that.
Okay.
Teller refused to even acknowledge antimatter on camera, and in excerpts from the government Bible, Bob Lazar clearly explains the enormous destructive power of antimatter. The older atomic bombs, like those dropped on Japan, would create an area of total devastation only several miles long caused, says Lazar, by a fission reaction in which less than 1% of the nuclear material is converted to energy. But if a hydrogen bomb containing the same amount of nuclear fuel as the Nagasaki bomb were to explode, the area of total devastation would be approximately 20 miles. Now, if a bomb was made with the same amount of nuclear material as the Nagasaki bomb, and that material was antimatter, when that bomb exploded in Baghdad, says Lazar as an example, the area of devastation would include parts of Africa, Europe, and Asia, with the exact area of total devastation being very difficult to calculate. Besides the devastated areas, an antimatter explosion would wreak nightmarish consequences upon the Earth's atmosphere and ozone layer, as well as producing poisoning effects of tremendous nuclear clouds circling the Earth. This, says Lazar, demonstrates the enormous amount of power released when you totally convert matter to energy, which is what happens when antimatter and matter are combined. The potentially devastating consequences of an antimatter experiment gone awry now becomes painfully obvious. These are the real dangers of letting secret military scientists experiment with flying discs gathered in secret from UFO crash retrievals, without necessary and vital congressional and civilian oversight. Do not forget that Lazar was brought to S4 to replace scientists who died due to an antimatter reactor experiment gone horribly wrong. Says Lazar, there's a small segment of the United States government that makes scientific and technological judgments from a knowledge base that is not available to the general public. If the following information is true, the United States government also makes judgments on a historical, philosophical, and even theological level from a knowledge base that is not available to the general public. This technology was brought here by some alien beings from the Zeta Reticuli 1 and 2 star system. These stars are located in the constellation Reticulum, which can only be seen from the southern hemisphere. Zeta Reticuli is a binary star system, which means that it is 2 stars and is located approximately 30 light years from Earth. These beings are from Reticulum 4, which is the 4th planet out from Zeta Reticuli 2.